All right, let's dive into an absolutely wild story. We're going to unpack a high-tech heist that really makes you question the whole idea of an unbreakable digital vault. This is the story of a $15 billion Bitcoin seizure that sent a massive shockwave through the entire crypto world. So picture this. It's October 2025, and the US Department of Justice makes an announcement that just stops everyone in their tracks. They've pulled off the largest asset seizure in history, a mind-boggling $15 billion. But here's the kicker. This wasn't cash, it wasn't gold, it wasn't stocks. It was over 127,000 Bitcoin. And it just, poof, vanished from a digital fortress that was supposed to be completely impenetrable. As you can imagine, the news just exploded. The market went into a total panic. In just one day, $19 billion in value was wiped out. Because every single person holding crypto was asking themselves the exact same terrifying question. Okay, so to really understand how a supposedly unbreakable wallet gets cracked, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to meet the man who built this digital empire, a criminal mastermind named Chen Zi. So this guy, Chen Zi, who also went by Vincent Chen, was the kingpin of this notorious outfit in Cambodia called the Prince Group. They were running these massive pig butchering scams, where they groom victims for months before tricking them into fake investments. And look, this wasn't some small-time operation. We are talking about a huge criminal enterprise, using forced labor and just brutal violence to rake in tens of millions of dollars every single day. So with billions and billions of dollars in illegal cash piling up, Chen Zi had a classic problem that every big-time criminal faces. How do you make all that dirty money look clean, right? You can't just walk into a bank and deposit billions without setting off every alarm bell on the planet. His solution was actually pretty brilliant. He took all that dirty cash from his scams and just poured it into funding these massive Bitcoin mining operations. See, by doing that, any new Bitcoin that was generated from the mining would look like legitimate profit. He was basically washing the illegal money and turning it into clean, untraceable digital cash. Then, to cover his tracks, he staged a fake hack on his own mining operation back in late 2020. After that, he moved his entire fortune into 25 personal cold wallets. Now, if you don't know, a cold wallet is like the digital version of a maximum security vault that's completely offline. It's not on the internet, which should make it impossible to hack. He genuinely believed his money was now completely and totally untouchable. He really thought his $15 billion fortune was safe forever. Well, he was wrong. The fatal flaw wasn't actually with Bitcoin itself. No, it was in the digital lockbox he chose to put it in. And this is a really, really crucial distinction to get. Think of it like this. Bitcoin's core security protocol is the vault. It's made of solid steel, it's incredibly strong, it has never been broken. But the software you use to create the lock for that vault, well, that can have a hidden weakness. And that weakness, it all came down to one single critical concept in cryptography: entropy. To put it simply, entropy is just a measure of randomness. To create a really secure digital key, you need true unpredictable randomness. It is the absolute foundation of all digital security. This slide really just perfectly illustrates the problem. See, proper Bitcoin security needs a level of randomness that creates a staggering number of possible keys, 2 to the power of 256. That is a number so big it's practically infinite. But the flaw in the software Chen Zi used, which got the nickname MilkSad, it only created keys with about 4.3 billion possibilities. Now, that sounds like a huge number to you and me, right? But for a modern computer, that's a puzzle it can solve in less than a day. So here's the huge mistake. Chen Zi, or somebody on his team, used this faulty, open-source tool to generate his so-called unbreakable keys. And you want to know the truly terrifying part? This wasn't some shady piece of software from a dark corner of the internet. No, this tool was once so trusted that it was actually recommended in what's pretty much considered the Bible of the crypto industry. Insane. So how did this whole thing finally unravel? Well, that 2025 seizure, that wasn't some sudden event. It was actually the final move in a long, patient, and totally secret hunt that went on for 5 years. Yeah, when you look at this timeline, the story gets even crazier. The actual seizure didn't happen in 2025. It happened way back in December of 2020. That's when US agents, after discovering the MilkSad flaw, were able to basically calculate the private keys and secretly take control of all 127,000 Bitcoin. And for the next 5 years, they just held onto the funds completely frozen while they quietly built their case and took down Chen Zi's entire criminal network. So that brings us to a really important question. If Bitcoin's core tech wasn't actually broken, why on earth did the market crash so hard when the news finally came out? Why did $19 billion just evaporate? The fear wasn't about a security flaw in Bitcoin. No, it was about something much more real and, frankly, way more frightening for the market. What happens when the US government decides to sell $15 billion worth of Bitcoin all at once? The mere threat of a $15 billion sell order hitting the market was enough to trigger a full-blown panic. I mean, think about it. The market just doesn't have enough buyers on any given day to soak up a sale that massive. This set off a huge chain reaction. Regular investors started panic selling, which then forced the automatic sell-off of accounts for leverage traders, the people borrowing money to bet on the price. It was the perfect storm that led to an historic crash. So when all the dust finally settled, this whole crazy saga ended up being a hugely expensive but an absolutely vital lesson for the entire world of digital assets. So what are the big takeaways from all this? Well, there are three main ones. First, the core math behind Bitcoin is solid, but the tools you use to interact with it can absolutely be flawed. So trust, but always, always verify. Second, in the crypto world, you are your own bank. That means you and only you are responsible for your security. You know the saying, not your keys, not your coin. And third, this whole case proves that the idea of crypto being some anonymous Wild West is officially over. Government agencies are getting very, very good at this stuff. This case really does mark a brand new chapter. It proves that no digital fortress is truly safe if the key used to lock it was flawed from the very beginning. And it leaves all of us with a really critical question for the future of finance and property. When governments can crack a digital vault and just take the assets, what does ownership actually mean anymore?